Nirvana, as most Buddhists have probably heard, cannot be put into words because it goes beyond what anything that we've experienced before. So the best way of describing nirvana is what it's not. And the easiest way for me, and that works, and it doesn't require a lot of cerebral or abstract things. To me, it's the end of greed, hatred, and delusion. Perfect peace, perfect happiness, if you like, although that's a little trickier because people have these already preconceived ideas of what happiness is. Peace is a little better because most people only have an inkling of what peace is. Most of us, we know something's imbalanced in our lives. We sense it. It's like the leaf fluttering in the wind. It's not, there's an agitation, there's an underlying restlessness. Even when we're at our happiest, whatever it might be. Some people want to watch Manchester United. Some people want to listen to their favorite music. Some people just want to go to the spa, feel completely relaxed. But if they were really honest, I think everyone, just stop now and just do nothing for 10 minutes. Are you really, honestly at peace? Most people would say no. In fact, there's a really interesting experiment done, I think, at a university where they gave people the option to either have a mild electric shock or spend 15 minutes in a room alone doing nothing with no distractions. And almost everyone chose the electric shock because it's so painful to face oneself and the disorder inside. So the nirvana is however you want to describe it, but it's at peace, it's in order, and nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be changed. So again, end of greed, hatred, and delusion, I think, is a very succinct, powerful way of saying what it is by saying what it's not. In the Pali Canon, there's the description of enlightened and unenlightened, quick distinctions. But then in terms of awakened individuals, awakened beings, there are 4 stages. And these 4 of stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, and Arahant, the way they are, these 4 stages are defined is in relation to the 10 sangyojanas, which is usually translated as fetters. And so it's similar to the kilesas or defilements. Again, going back to the definition of nirvana as the end of greed, hatred, and delusion, so it ties really directly into that a stream enterer has cut the first 3. So the fetters are really like chains. And so to imagine being a prisoner and being bound to like a cold wall in the dungeon of, what's that, Tower of London? It's gruesome. And it's freezing cold and wet and rats running around. And imagine what joy if you had 10 chains and all of a sudden 3 of them were severed. There would be already a feeling of like, wow, maybe there's hope. Of course, it's even greater than that. For like the way it's described at stream entry is the amount of suffering that remains in the heart is like comparing a handful of gravel to the Himalayas. I mean, it's really, really impactful. It's not just a minor adjustment in one's life. It's a really extraordinary, irreversible transformation that occurs. And so then with the once returner, who will, if he or she dies at that moment, will come back and be reborn as a human one more time, will have the next 2 fetters will have weakened them really significantly, like not severed, but like the file is cut almost all the way through. And then the non-returner, who will not be reborn as a human, but will be reborn if he or she dies at that moment in one of the Brahma realms, has severed those 2 of the next 2. And then Arahant has severed all 10, so the last 5 as well. And so an Arahant is basically a fully awakened, fully enlightened. So Parinirvana is the term used in the scriptures to describe the death of an Arahant, including the Buddha. So one can realize Nirvana or Nibbana in this lifetime, just like the Buddha did at, age 35, and then live till 80, and could abide dwelling with Nirvana as, you could say, as the focus. But was still alive, still had a body, still had feelings, still was able to speak. But then at death, there's no rebirth. And then nothing can really be described. What is Nirvana then? Like, where is it? It's not a place. So again, really one can only speak in negation. But the simple distinction between those two terms is Nirvana is perfect peace. Parinirvana is the death of the Buddha, of an Arahant. So final liberation, in the sense that casting away the 5 khandhas. There's, even being an Arahant, even the Buddha needed to rest his back. It's painful to be in these bodies, and for an Arahant, it's not an exception. He died from apparently some quite excruciating stomach illness. It was probably not an experience anyone would welcome, but he didn't. Again, that's dukkha on the level of the 3 marks, not dukkha as suffering. He was perfect. He never complained. There was not even a moment of, I wish it was otherwise. And that's really hard for us to conceptually come to terms with. And so I would say try not to complicate the issue by thinking too much about it.